He was the richest farmer in the village, proud, feared, untouchable. One day, he insulted a poor man, made him kneel in the dust, and laughed as the whole village watched. Years later, when his beautiful daughter was about to marry the chief's son, a stranger appeared. He was the same poor man's son, now powerful, respected, and holding a secret that would destroy everything the rich farmer owned. What he revealed on that wedding night made the entire village scream. The earth itself seemed to remember the insult, and demanded its debt. The morning sun stretched across the hills of Kambala Village, painting the land gold. The air smelled of soil and maize. Women sang at the wells, men sharpened their hoes, and children chased each other through the narrow paths between the huts. It was a land where everyone worked hard, everyone except one man who believed he worked harder than all others combined. His name was Faraji Mwangi, the richest farmer Kambala had ever known. Faraji's land spread so far that when a traveler asked where it ended, the people would say, "Where the sun sleeps." His house stood on the tallest hill, surrounded by fences of polished wood and a gate carved with golden lion. Every morning, smoke from his kitchen rose first, and every evening, his laughter echoed last. But though the gods had filled his barn, they had left his heart empty. Faraji was not cruel by accident, he was cruel by pride. He believed that wealth proved worth, that gold measured greatness, and that those without riches were simply lazy. He had one daughter, Zuri, meaning beautiful. She was as bright as morning and as spoiled as the sun itself. Faraji adored her, but he taught her the same thing he believed. Respect the rich, Zuri. The poor are poor for a reason. Zuri listened, smiled, and nodded, for what else could a daughter do but mirror her father's pride? That morning, the market of Kambala was alive, drums, shouting traders, goats, and laughter mixing into one melody of life. Faraji rode into the market on his tall brown stallion, wearing a white robe that brushed the dust from his path. The villagers looked up, some in awe, others in quiet resentment. "Ah, good morning, my people," he boomed. "A fine day to work, and a finer day to be rich." Everyone laughed nervously. Only one man didn't smile. A thin, weary figure stepped from the shade of a hut. His clothes were torn, his hands rough from work, and his eyes heavy from sleepless nights. His name was Tendo, once a proud farmer, now a poor man struggling to survive. 2 failed harvests had taken everything, his land, his livestock, his wife. Only his little daughter Amelie, barely 10, remained. That morning, she had asked him, "Papa, will we eat today?" Tendo had smiled weakly. "Yes, my child, the earth will provide." But as the sun climbed higher and the hunger in his stomach grew sharper, he realized there was only one way left. He would have to ask Faraji for help. He walked through the crowd toward Faraji's stall, where tall sacks of maize stood like golden towers. Faraji sat counting coins, his guards nearby. Tendo took a deep breath and bowed slightly. "Good day, Sir Faraji." Faraji didn't look up. "What is it?" "Sir, my crops failed again. My daughter hasn't eaten in 2 days. I came to ask if you could lend me 1 sack of maize. I will repay you after harvest." For a moment, the sound of the market seemed to fade. Then Faraji looked up, eyes narrowing. "You want my maize? You, who cannot feed yourself?" "I have worked hard, sir," Tendo said quietly. "But the rains." "The rains?" Faraji interrupted. "The rains fall on all men. The difference is how strong a man stands when the storms come." Some nearby traders nodded cautiously, trying to please the rich man. "Please, sir," Tendo said again, his voice trembling. "I ask not for pity, only a chance to keep my child alive." Faraji stood, dusting off his robe. "Tell me something, Tendo. Who do you think you are, asking favors from me?" "I am just a man," Tendo said. "A father." Faraji smirked. "A father? Then be strong. Or better yet, teach your daughter how weakness looks." The crowd went silent. Even the drummers stopped. Faraji took a step closer, his gold bracelets catching the light. "You want my help? Then kneel. Kneel and ask properly." Tendo froze. "Sir." Faraji's voice grew cold. "Kneel, beggar. Or walk away empty." Every eye in the market turned toward them. Tendo's hands trembled. His pride screamed, but hunger screamed louder. He thought of Amelie, her ribs showing, her voice soft with pain. So he did it. He fell to his knees. Dust rose around him. The hot earth burned his skin. But he stayed there, silent, still, humiliated. Faraji crossed his arms. "Look well, my people. This is what happens when a man forgets to be strong." Laughter broke out, sharp, uncomfortable, forced. Tendo looked up, eyes glistening. His voice was calm, steady, and heavy with meaning. "Sir, you have made me kneel before you today. But remember this, one day, someone you love will kneel before the dust too." And when that day comes, may the earth remind you what pride costs. The laughter died instantly. For a second, Faraji's smile faltered. Then he waved his hand dismissively. Big words from an empty stomach. He turned to his guards. Give him nothing. He's had enough charity for one day. Tendo rose slowly, his knees bleeding. He walked away through the silent crowd, each step heavy but proud. That night, as thunder rolled across the sky, Tendo whispered into the wind, I will not curse him. The earth will do it for me. And on the hill above, Faraji feasted in his mansion, raising his cup high. To success, he laughed. But when lightning flashed through the sky, it didn't light his face. It flashed over the mango tree outside Tendo's hut, where the poor man prayed for justice. The years rolled over Kambala like waves over sand, seasons of rain and sun, life and death. The droughts ended, the rivers returned, and the land grew green again. But one thing did not change, Faraji Mwangi's heart. His barns filled higher, his land stretched wider, and his pride grew heavier than ever. He was no longer just a wealthy farmer, he was the man the chief himself consulted during harvest season. When people came to his gates for help, he'd remind them of their place. Work harder, he'd say with a smirk. The gods bless effort, not laziness. And every time he said those words, the earth beneath his house seemed to sigh. Far away, at the edge of Kambala, stood a small hut, the same hut where Tendo had once whispered his final prayer. The mango tree beside it had grown taller, stronger, and more silent than before. Beneath its shade, Amelie, now 15, sat alone grinding maize. She had her father's calm eyes, but life had taught her sadness too early. Tendo had fallen ill during the heavy rains. Villagers had tried to help, but no medicine saved him. Before he died, he called Amelie close and whispered, Do not let anger live in your heart, my child. Pride kills faster than hunger. The earth remembers, but forgiveness heals. Amelie had held his hand until it went cold. When they buried him under the mango tree, she promised him one thing, I will live honestly, Papa, even if the world is cruel. After his death, she became a worker in the village. She fetched water, cleaned houses, carried baskets of yams, anything that could earn her a meal. People respected her, but no one helped her much. She was, after all, the daughter of a poor man, and the world forgets the poor faster than the wind forgets footprints in dust. Meanwhile, Faraji's mansion on the hill grew even grander. The wooden fence was replaced with carved stone, the roof was painted crimson red. Inside, laughter, music, and the clinking of silver cups never stopped. Faraji's daughter Zuri, now a young woman of 18, was the jewel of Kambala. Her skin glowed like bronze in sunlight, her hair fell in dark curls, and her eyes carried both her father's pride and her mother's beauty. Every man wanted her, every woman envied her. But Zuri had grown up surrounded by servants who bowed to her wishes. If she dropped her jewelry, someone picked it up. If she sighed, someone ran to fan her. And if a poor child asked her for food, she turned away, not out of cruelty, but out of the arrogance she had inherited. Faraji often said, Zuri, never lower yourself for anyone beneath our name. The poor are like weeds, they grow everywhere, but none are worth keeping. She would smile and nod. Yes, father. One morning, as the sun burned through a silver mist, Zuri decided to visit the riverside market with her maids. She rode in her golden carriage, laughing, her wrists shining with bangles. But halfway down the dusty road, one of the carriage wheels hit a stone and broke. The guards jumped down, trying to fix it. The sun climbed higher, hot and impatient. Zuri fanned herself angrily. This is taking forever. Do you people know who I am? The guards struggled, sweating. Just then, a young man passed by carrying firewood on his shoulder. His body was lean and strong, his face calm but confident. His name was Kato. He stopped, set down the wood, and said politely, You need help. Zuri glared. Do I look like I need help from a woodcutter? Kato smiled, not mockingly, but kindly. No, you look like someone who's angry with the sun. Her maids giggled quietly. Zuri's cheeks flushed. Mind your business, she snapped. Kato shrugged, walked past the guards, and bent down beside the wheel. With one quick move, he lifted the wooden axle, adjusted the wheel, and secured it using a piece of vine rope from his bundle. There, he said, brushing his hands. You can ride again. The guard stared in surprise. You fixed it. Zuri crossed her arms. You think I'll thank you? Kato smiled faintly. No, but the road might. He picked up his firewood and walked away without another word. Zuri stood there, frozen between pride and curiosity. For the first time, someone hadn't bowed to her name, and yet, she couldn't stop watching him leave. That night, she couldn't sleep. The sound of his voice replayed in her mind, calm, confident, strange. She kept asking herself, who was he? The next day, she returned to the market under the excuse of buying spices. Her maids followed, whispering. She spotted him again near the riverbank, selling wooden bowls he had carved. When their eyes met, something flickered, a spark neither understood. Kato nodded respectfully. "Good morning, princess." Zuri frowned. "I am not a princess." He smiled. "Then stop acting like one." Her mouth dropped open, but before she could reply, he handed a little boy a free bowl. "Take this home, little one," he said. The child ran off happily. Zuri stared at him, confused. "Why would you give something for free?" "Because kindness is a seed," he said softly. "It grows where pride cannot." Those words hit her harder than she wanted to admit. Days turned into weeks. Each time Zuri came to the market, she found herself drawn toward Kato. She told herself it was curiosity, not affection, but her heart beat faster whenever he spoke. He told stories of his late mother, of hard work, of loss, of hope. She had never known such honesty. And for the first time in her life, Zuri began to see her world differently. She noticed how the poor lived, how hungry children smiled without bitterness, how farmers sang even with tired hands. She began to wonder, had her father been wrong all along? That evening, as the orange sun sank behind the hills, she returned home quietly. Faraji saw her face glowing and frowned. "Why do you smile like a fool, my daughter?" "It's nothing, father," she said softly. "Nothing makes no one smile," he muttered. "Tell me the truth. What have you seen?" Zuri hesitated. "Just the world, father. The real world." Faraji narrowed his eyes. "The world smiles only for the rich, my daughter. Don't forget that." But in her heart, she already had. The rainy season arrived in Kambala like a slow song, heavy clouds rolling over the hills, drums echoing from distant villages, and the scent of wet earth filling the air. For most, rain meant rebirth. For Zuri Mwangi, it meant restlessness. Every night she sat by her window, staring at the road that led to the river. Somewhere beyond those trees, Kato would be working, carving his wooden bowls, his hands rough but patient. She didn't understand why she thought of him so often. He was poor, unknown, unimportant, everything her father said she should avoid. And yet, when she closed her eyes, she could still hear his voice. "Kindness is a seed. It grows where pride cannot." Those words haunted her like the rhythm of rain on her window. One morning, when the clouds broke and sunlight spilled across the fields, Zuri decided to go to the river, secretly. She dressed simply, covering her hair with a brown scarf, and told her maids she was visiting a friend in the next village. Then she slipped away through the back gate, her heart pounding with a thrill she had never known. The path was muddy, and her sandals sank into the wet soil. She wasn't used to walking on uneven ground, but there was a strange joy in it, freedom without servants, without rules. When she reached the riverbank, she saw him. Kato stood ankle-deep in the water, washing wood shavings from his tools. The morning light caught his face, and she noticed how peaceful he looked. Not proud, not worried, just alive. Zuri called softly, "Kato." He turned, surprise lighting his eyes. Then a slow smile spread across his face. "So, the princess walks the muddy road today." She smiled back. "And the woodcutter still talks too much." He laughed, stepping out of the river. "What brings you here, Zuri of the Golden House?" She hesitated. "Maybe I wanted to see how you live." He raised an eyebrow. "And what do you think?" She looked around. The small hut near the trees, the half-finished carvings, the little fire still smoking from breakfast. It was humble, yet full of something her mansion lacked. "It's quiet," she said finally. "Peaceful." He nodded. "Peace doesn't live in big houses. It hides in small hearts." For a while, they said nothing. The river whispered beside them, and birds chattered in the branches. Then Zuri asked, "Where is your family?" Kato's smile faded slightly. "My mother died when I was a boy. My uncle raised me. He was a good man, though the world wasn't kind to him." She frowned. "What happened to him?" Kato looked at the water. "He died poor, but proud. People say he once worked for a rich farmer who treated him like dirt." Zuri's heart skipped a beat. "Do you remember his name?" He shook his head. "No. But my uncle always said the same thing before he died. The earth remembers what pride forgets." Zuri's breath caught in her throat. Those were the same words her father sometimes mocked when villagers spoke of old proverbs. The earth remembers what pride forgets. She looked away quickly, hiding her unease. "That's a strong saying." "Yes," Kato said softly. "He believed that everything we do returns to us, sometimes in ways we don't expect." The wind picked up, brushing Zuri's scarf across her face. Kato reached out gently and fixed it for her. Their eyes met, and for a moment, the world disappeared. From that day, Zuri returned often. Sometimes she brought food, sometimes stories, sometimes nothing but silence and a shared smile. They talked about life, about the stars, about what freedom meant. Kato told her about the hardships of poor farmers, how they worked in the sun from dawn till dusk only to sell their crops for a handful of coin. Zuri listened, and for the first time, she felt the weight of others' pain. When she returned home, the taste of luxury felt bitter. One afternoon, as rain clouds gathered again, Faraji called for her. "Zuri," he said, seated at his grand table, "Chief Aching's son has asked for your hand in marriage." Zuri froze. "What?" "He is rich, respected, and powerful," Faraji said proudly. "With this union, our family will be untouchable in Kambala." She swallowed hard. "But father, I don't even know him." Faraji laughed. "Love comes after wealth, my daughter. It always has." Her heart thudded painfully. "What if I don't want him?" Faraji's face hardened. "Don't speak like a fool. You are my daughter, you will marry as I command." She stood, tears rising. "Father, you can buy land and cattle, but not people's heart." He slammed his fist on the table. "Enough, you will not shame me like a market woman." She ran from the room, her sobs echoing down the marble hallway. That night, thunder roared again over Kambala, just like the night Tendo had cursed the earth years ago. Zuri slipped out through the back gate and ran through the rain, her dress soaked, her sandals lost in the mud. She didn't stop until she reached Kato's hut. He opened the door, shocked. "Zuri, what are you doing here in this storm?" She broke down, trembling. "My father, he wants to marry me off to a man I don't love. I can't do it, Kato." Kato looked at her, torn between fear and compassion. "You shouldn't be here. If your father finds out." "I don't care," she cried. "You're the only one who's ever seen me, not my father's name." For a long moment, neither spoke. Rain drummed on the roof like a heartbeat. Finally, Kato whispered, "Zuri, do you know what you're saying?" She nodded, tears falling. "Yes, I don't care if you're poor, Kato. You have more honor than all the rich men I know." Kato's chest rose and fell. Slowly, he stepped closer, lifting her chin. "If I could, I'd build you a palace from the same earth your father walks on. But I have nothing to give you except truth." Zuri smiled faintly through her tears. "Then that's enough." And as lightning split the sky, the river roared louder, carrying their secret away, a secret that would soon shake all of Kambala. The sun had not yet risen when a servant ran breathlessly into Faraji Mwangi's house, trembling. "Master, master, I must tell you." Faraji slammed his cup on the table. "What is it, fool? Speak." The man hesitated, eyes darting nervously. "Your daughter, Zuri. She was seen last night, leaving the compound. Alone." Faraji's face froze. "Leaving? Where?" The servant swallowed hard. "To the lower valley, to the river, where the woodcarver lives." The cup slipped from Faraji's hand and shattered. Silence followed, heavy, dangerous. He rose slowly, his breath sharp. "Say that again." "The woodcarver, master. The one named Kato." Faraji's voice became a whisper of thunder. "A peasant dares touch my blood." He turned toward the window, watching dawn crawl over the hills. A chill ran through his body, not from fear, but from a fury older than reason. By the time Zuri awoke that morning in her bed, her father already knew. He entered her room without knocking, his face like a stone carved in fire. She sat up quickly, her heart racing. "Father, don't call me that," he hissed. "Do you think I raised you for this shame?" Tears welled in her eyes. "It's not shame, father. It's love." He laughed bitterly. "Love? You think love will feed you? Will it buy land? Will it make you respected?" "It makes me happy," she whispered. Faraji slammed his fist on her table. "Happiness is a dream for fools. You are my daughter, you will not throw your life into the mud for a poor man." Zuri stood, trembling. "Then what is life worth, father, if it's built on your pride?" His hand rose before he even realized it. The sound of his slap cracked through the air like lightning. Zuri fell back, clutching her cheek. Tears streamed down her face. Faraji's voice broke into a growl. "You will never see that boy again. Do you hear me?" Zuri stared up at him, silent, hurt, and defiant. Faraji turned to his guards. "Find him. Bring him here. Now." By noon, 4 of Faraji's men arrived at Kato's hut. He was outside, carving a wooden bowl when he saw them coming. He set down his knife calmly, though his heart knew what this meant. "Are you Kato?" one of them barked. "Yes, you will come with us." Kato looked past them toward the river, the same river where Zuri had first spoken his name. He smiled faintly. "If it's about her, then I'll go willingly." The guards bound his hands and dragged him up the hill toward the mansion. Villagers stopped and stared, whispering. Some pitied him, others stayed silent, for in Kambala, no one challenged the rich. Inside the great hall, Faraji sat in his golden chair like a judge before the condemned. Zuri stood beside him, tears glistening but unbowed. They threw Kato to the floor. Faraji rose slowly. "So, this is the man who thinks he can steal my bloodline." Kato lifted his eyes, calm and steady. "I stole nothing, sir. Your daughter gave me her trust, not her title." "Silence," Faraji roared. "Do you know who I am?" Kato nodded. A man who believes gold can silence truth. The hall went deadly quiet. Even the guards shifted uneasily. Faraji's lips curled. You speak boldly for a beggar. Cato smiled faintly. Maybe because I've met men poorer than me, men with full barns and empty hearts. For the first time in years, Faraji's face lost its color. The word struck him like a ghost's whisper. Men with full barns and empty hearts. It was something Tendo had once said to him, years ago in the market. Faraji clenched his fist. You think you can insult me and live? Cato met his eyes. No, sir. I think your pride has already killed enough. Faraji snapped his fingers. Take him to the field. Make an example of him. Zuri gasped. Father, please. He's done nothing wrong. Enough. Faraji barked. If you speak again, you'll regret it. But Zuri stepped forward, standing between her father and Cato. Then you'll have to punish me too. Faraji's face twisted in rage. Zuri, no, she cried. You taught me that wealth makes us powerful. But I've seen the truth, father. It makes us blind. This man has nothing, yet he's richer than you. The words hit harder than any blow. Faraji trembled, his chest heaving. You will ruin this family. Zuri's voice softened. Father, you already did, the day you made a poor man kneel. Faraji froze. His heart stopped. What did you say? Zuri stepped closer, tears shining in her eyes. Yes, father, I know. Years ago, a man named Tendo begged you for food. You humiliated him in the market. The whole village remembers. Cato is his nephew. The room fell silent. Even the wind outside seemed to hold its breath. Faraji stared at Cato, truly saw him for the first time. The same calm eyes, the same quiet dignity, the same words. A chill ran down his spine. His knees felt weak. Tendo's nephew? Cato nodded slowly. Yes, I am the blood of the man you broke, and the living reminder that the earth never forgets. Faraji stumbled back, clutching the edge of the table. His face turned pale, his breath shallow. Zuri reached out to him. Father. He shook his head, his voice hoarse. No, this can't be. Cato spoke softly. You made my uncle kneel, sir. But I will not do the same. I forgive you, not because you deserve it, but because I promised him I would. Those words, gentle, humble, merciful, crushed Faraji more than anger ever could. He sank to his knees. The great Faraji Mwangi, the richest man in Kambala, kneeled before the son of a poor farmer. Zuri gasped. The guard stared, uncertain what to do. Faraji whispered, What have I done? Cato stepped forward, placing a hand on his shoulder. What all men do when they forget to be human. Then he turned and left, walking down the long marble hall, the doors closing behind him with a sound like thunder, the sound of pride collapsing. That night, the mansion was silent. No music, no laughter. Only the echo of rain tapping against the windows. Slow, steady, sorrowful. Zuri found her father sitting alone, staring at the fire. Father, she whispered, you can still make this right. He looked at her with tear-streaked eyes. Can I? She nodded. Yes, pride destroyed our family once. Let humility rebuild it. Faraji turned toward the window, where lightning danced over the hills, the same hills that had once witnessed his cruelty. He whispered, Tendo, forgive me. The morning after the storm, Kambala Village woke to an uneasy silence. The mansion on the hill, once filled with music and laughter, stood quiet, its golden gates wide open. For the first time in years, Faraji Mwangi, the richest farmer of Kambala, walked through the marketplace without his servants, without his pride, and without his golden robes. He carried no cane, no jewelry, only a small sack of grain on his back. As he passed, people whispered, Is that Faraji, the great farmer himself? What happened to him? Faraji ignored them all. His eyes were fixed on the path ahead, the same path where years ago, he had made a poor man kneel in the dust. That memory burned in his heart like fire. He reached the old mango tree at the edge of the village. There, beneath its wide green branches, stood a simple grave marked with a wooden cross. Tendo's grave. Faraji knelt. The earth was cool, damp from the night's rain. He placed the sack of grain beside the grave and whispered, Tendo, I took from you more than food. I took your dignity. I see now that the gods were watching, and they sent your blood to teach me what I refused to learn. He bowed low, pressing his forehead into the soil. For the first time in his life, the proud man wept, not for himself, but for the pain he had caused. And somewhere in the rustle of the mango leaves, it felt as if the earth sighed, softly, like forgiveness. In the following weeks, the people of Kambala watched something they never thought possible. Faraji opened his barns to the poor. He walked into the fields with his laborers, working beside them under the sun. He visited every hut he had once ignored, bringing food and medicine. Some people refused his help at first. Why now, Faraji? They asked. Why after all these years? He only smiled sadly. Because I finally learned that wealth means nothing if it feeds only one stomach. Word spread across the villages. The proud man had become humble, the wolf had turned shepherd. Meanwhile, Cato returned to his quiet life by the river. He carved his wooden bowls, tended his small field, and lived simply. But his heart was restless, not with anger, but with the memory of Zuri's tears. One afternoon, as he worked beneath the trees, he heard soft footsteps behind him. He turned, and there she was. Zuri, dressed in a plain blue dress, her eyes gentle, her pride gone. For a moment, they simply looked at each other, two souls who had walked through fire and come out whole. I didn't think I'd see you again, Cato said quietly. Zuri smiled faintly. My father, he's changed. I know, he said. The village speaks of it. She took a deep breath. He told me to come, to thank you, to tell you he prays for forgiveness every day. Cato nodded slowly. Tell him he already has it. They stood there in silence, the river whispering between them. Then Zuri said softly, and what about you? Have you forgiven me? He looked at her, really looked, and smiled. There was never anything to forgive. Her eyes filled with tears. Cato, I still. He raised a hand gently. Don't say it yet. Let time decide what the earth will bless. She nodded, and together they sat by the river, watching the sun dip low, the light turning the water gold. Months passed. Kambala flourished again, not because of its wealth, but because of its unity. For the first time, the rich and the poor worked side by side. Faraji's lands became open fields where all were welcome to plant and harvest. He built a school near the mango tree, naming it, the House of Tendo, a place where every child, rich or poor, could learn together. And on the day the school opened, the whole village gathered. Faraji stood before them, older now, his face lined with humility but glowing with peace. Zuri and Cato stood beside him. He raised his voice, not like a lord, but like a man reborn. Years ago, I believed gold made me strong. I was wrong. It made me blind. True strength lives in compassion, not pride. I once made a poor man kneel in this very market. Today, I kneel before his memory, and I thank the gods for sending his blood to remind me that we all belong to the same earth. The crowd was silent for a long moment. Then, slowly, one by one, they began to clap. And as their applause filled the air, the wind carried the sound toward the hills, to the mango tree, where the leaves shimmered like they were smiling. That evening, Faraji walked alone to the riverbank. Cato and Zuri were there, laughing softly, their hands brushing as they talked. Faraji stopped, watching them with a small, peaceful smile. He whispered, Tendo, your debt is paid. The earth remembers, and so do I. The last light of sunset bathed the fields in gold. The river glowed, the air hummed with life, and for the first time, Faraji felt truly rich, not in wealth, but in peace. Plus, years later, when Faraji's hair turned white, the people of Kambala still came to him for wisdom. They called him Z Faraji, the elder who learned. And when travelers asked about the mango tree on the edge of the village, the children would say, that's where the proud man learned to kneel.